Hey, I am back with another book share coming at you. I just finished reading a really powerful book that I wanted to share some excerpts from around the concept of time and being more present in the now and what that can do. And so I want to point out that this book, I got it from my mom for Christmas, and I was like really blown away because it was just kind of so up my alley, and was from an author that I've been wanting to read his stuff for a little while now. I've always loved his quotes that I've come across. And so anyways, she's just been really amazing as far as hitting the marks the last couple of years as I've gotten a lot older, and this one was another one that was just like blew me away. So thanks, Mom. And yeah, so the book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it's The Power of Now, a guide to spiritual enlightenment. So whether that's a goal of yours or not, this is still a really powerful book to dive into and just to see what you can get out of it. Because depending on where you are in your journey, this stuff might come at you and it just might roll off, and you just shrug it off. But some stuff might hit a lot deeper than you think. And even if you buy the book, give it a try, and then come back to it a year later, you could be surprised at how much you've changed just with your experiences, and how much it might ring true then. So anyways, with that being said, I'll get into it. So like I said, it comes down to this construct of time that we seem to, as humans, have built, this clock that we have to follow, like 24 hours in a day, and the calendar, and we have an hour, and how many minutes in an hour, and how many seconds, and we're always trying to get somewhere, or like time is always there as this thing, and it's obstacle for people. It's how do I get enough time? I don't have enough time. It's always this thing that like has become this construct that we've built for ourselves as humans that like we really don't need. If you think about it, back like millions and millions and millions of years ago, before we decided that we needed something to keep track of time, to figure out where we were headed and where we used to be, all we had was the now. Like animals, they don't pay attention to what time it is. They don't care what day it is, or if it's dinner 5 o'clock, or all they care about is the now. So that's a good leeway. So as the book states, the power of now, it's a really eye-opener in terms of what that means, like the now and being in the moment, because I know that's become a phrase that's be in the moment, be here, be now, tune in, and it's like, how do you actually do that? So these excerpts about time and how much time plays a factor in our ability to be in the now is what I kind of want to go over. So I'll do my best to kind of keep his words and my words separately, like my thoughts in there. But yeah, here we go. So he starts by saying, where I'm jumping in at, when I say time is an illusion, my intention is not to make a philosophical statement. I am just reminding you of a simple fact, a fact so obvious that you may find it hard to grasp and may even find it meaningless. But once fully realized, it can cut like a sword through all the mind-created layers of complexities and quote-unquote problems. Let me say it again. The present moment is all you ever have. There is never a time when your life is not this moment. Is that not a fact? So for me, it was like, nah, that's a fact. Like, you're right. Like, all I have is this moment. And, it's one of those things. It's like, why has that never hit me before? Or maybe it has, and it just is this reminder. But it's like, all we have is this moment. That moment's gone. Now we have this moment. All I have is this moment recording this video, and you have your moment watching it. It's like all we have is this moment. So how can we better tune into whatever this moment is presenting us, right? So he goes on to talk about, the insanity of psychological time, and he poses these questions about how does this mind pattern operate in your life? This mind pattern of time. And to point it out, he says, are you always trying to get somewhere other than where you are? Is most of your doing just a means to an end? Is fulfillment always just around the corner or confined to short-lived pleasures such as sex, food, drugs, drink, or thrills and excitement? Are you always focused on becoming, achieving, attaining, or alternatively chasing some new thrill or pleasure? Do you believe that if you acquire more things, you will become more fulfilled, good enough, or psychologically complete? Are you waiting for a man or woman to give you meaning to your life? All these things are tied around time. You know, you're either waiting for something to come to you, you're waiting for this time to come, or you're trying to put the time that maybe you want to forget behind you. You're trying to escape the now, whether it's looking ahead or looking behind, right? So he goes on to talk about negativity and suffering having their roots in time. So he says, usually the future is a replica of the past. Superficial changes are possible, but real transformation is rare and depends upon whether you can become present enough to dissolve the past by ascending the power of the now. So that can be kind of a lot to take in. So I want to read it again. Usually the future is a replica of the past. Superficial changes are possible. So it may look like something's changed. You may be in a different relationship or your surroundings may have changed, right? But real transformation is rare because it depends upon whether you can become present enough to dissolve that past by accessing the power of the now. So accessing that power of where you have become and come to dissolve that suffering that you may be, that resisting of whatever it is you're facing, right? So for an example, he said, you may win $10 million, but that kind of change is no more than skin deep, right? Because you would simply continue to act out the same conditioned patterns in more luxurious surroundings. So that superficial change of having more money might feel like, oh, this is a big change, I can do all these things. But then if you're not careful, you could still act out those same conditioned patterns, but it just seems like things have changed because you're in a more luxurious environment, right? So another example he said, instead of killing 10 or 20 people with a wooden club, one person can now kill 1 million just by pushing a button. This idea that we've changed and we've come into this future of atomic bombs, but is that real change? You're still killing people. You're still killing other human beings. Is that real change? It's just in a swifter, faster, easier manner, right? That's superficial change. So he goes on to say, if it is the quality of your consciousness at this moment that determines the future, then what is it that determines the quality of your consciousness? It's your degree of presence. So the only place where true change can occur and where the past can be dissolved is in the now. So again, let me read that again, because it's big. Like I said, these things are kind of big to take in. So if it is the quality of your consciousness at this moment that determines the future, so your quality of how your consciousness is playing out in your life right now determines where you're headed, then what's determining the quality of your consciousness? It's your degree of your presence in the now. If you're living so much in the future or living so much in the past, you're not really conscious of what you're able to do in the now. And that's a lot more suffering that you're putting yourself through than you probably realize, right? So the only place where true change can occur, as he's saying, and where the past can be dissolved and you can kind of get rid of the suffering that you don't realize doesn't have to be there, is in the now. So let me go on to explain this. As he says, all negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. So all negativity is caused by accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. That makes so much sense, right? unease, anxiety, tension, stress, the worry of the fear of what's uncertain, that's all in the future. That's not in the present, right? Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, all the sadness of what you may have done or things that were done to you, or, that's all in the past. That's too much past taking up your mind and not enough of the presence. So most people, he says, find it difficult to believe that a state of consciousness totally free of all negativity is possible, right? You have people that just are so set that no negativity is just part of it. And not to say that good and bad, like there's always going to be that polarity of negative to your positive, but you don't have to live in the negativity. Bringing awareness to it, and these are my thoughts, right? Bringing awareness to that negativity shines that positive light on it, and that dark can't stand in the light. The dark can't, the light's gonna drown out the darkness. Just as it's gonna go the other way if you have enough of that negativity going in and you're saying, no, negativity is part of life. It's just how it is. That's gonna outshine and snuff out that light, and you're never gonna feel like it's ever there because you're putting if you're not bringing that awareness to the action and the role that you're playing in this, you're not gonna see it, right? So playing it, that awareness starts with listening to what this may be bringing up and seeing how that plays in your life. How much are you living in the future? How much are you living in the past, right? So he said, most people find it difficult to believe that a state of consciousness totally free of negativity is possible. And yet, this is the liberated state to which all spiritual teachings point. This is all what we're trying to reach for, this place of non-suffering, right? It's not an illusionary future, but it's right here and right now. This is what he's saying. It's this thing that we've forgotten, that it's accessible right here, right now. But it's about realizing that we have to bring our attention and our focus and our awareness to the now. And so he says, you might find it hard to recognize that time is the cause of your suffering or your problems. Like you may believe that they're caused by specific situations in your life, and seen from a conventional viewpoint, this is true, right? But until you have dealt with the basic problem-making dysfunction that we have, that is the mind, problems are actually interchangeable. Or sorry, no. Okay, but until you have dealt with the basic problem-making dysfunction of the mind, its attachment to the past and future and denial of the now, problems are actually interchangeable. So if you don't deal with this attachment to your future and to the past and how that's causing this dysfunction in your mind, your problems are going to seem interchangeable. Like you're always going to find new problems to something's going to come up, right? You think you've changed something, that superficial change, and then a problem is going to come up, that similar problem, maybe that pattern of what you've been facing, right? And you're back to that suffering. Whereas if all your problems, like he says, if all your problems or perceived causes of suffering or unhappiness were miraculously removed for you today, but you had not become more present, more conscious, you would soon find yourself in a similar set of problems or causes of suffering, like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. Ultimately, there's only one problem, the time-bound mind itself, right? Like, once you kind of check into that, it's like, and so he goes on to say, you think that your attention in the present moment, or you think that your attention is in the present moment when it's actually taken up completely by time, right? So again, we've come into this culture of like, be in the moment, be present, but we still don't realize how much our mind is being taken up by time, how much we're still living in the future and living in the past. You cannot be both unhappy, he says, and fully present in the now. Right? Like when you become fully present and you check into those senses, you tune into just the life source that is you, that connects you and the world around you. How can you not be in awe and find that gratitude of kind of that stillness and happiness within that? It's that joy we're born with, of like little babies that come out and, that just don't know anything but what they feel inside. It's trying to tune back into connecting back to that, right? So he goes on to say, what you refer to as your life should more accurately be called your life situation. It is psychological time, past and future. Your life situation is psychological time. It's not your life. Your life is that inner feeling, that knowing, that connection inward that you find and feel with those around you in those moments of pure joy, you know, in those intense feelings, whatever you feel them, like those, that is the life. That is the life source, right? And your life situation is just psychological time. It's just your future and your past, right? Certain things, he says, in the past didn't go the way you wanted them to go. You are still resisting what happened in the past, and now you're resisting what is. Hope is what keeps you going, but hope keeps you focused on the future, and this continued focus perpetuates your denial of the now and therefore your unhappiness. So, right, your life situation is this past and this future. It's not your life, but it's this life situation that you're living in, and you're resisting this past that has led you up to this point of now, and also this future of this hope of where you're going. You're living in that, whereas you're still denying that now. So it's to realize this difference between your life and your life situation. And he says, forget about your life situation for a while and pay attention to your life. So what's the difference between these two? Your life situation exists in time, in the past, in the present. Your life is now. Your life situation is the mind stuff, the chaotic stuff up here that keeps you going and just all over the place, right? Your life is real. It's your experiences. It's what you feel on the inside. So find the narrow gate that leads to life. It's called the now, is what he says. Narrow your life down to this moment. Your life situation may be full of problems. Most life situations are, but find out if you have any problem at this moment. Not tomorrow, not in 10 minutes, but now. Do you have a problem now? When you are full of problems, there is no room for anything new to enter, right? No room for solution. So whenever you can, make some room, create some space so you can find the life underneath all the life situation, underneath the life situation that you find yourself in, that you find yourself unhappy with. It's getting caught up in this future and past that like takes us away from the now. And when we can come to that realization of how much we're living in our mind and living for the future or living for the past, it's like we realize how much space we're taking up for energy, like how much space we're taking up and not living, like actually living through our life, like our life source, right? So when we can be aware of that, of what our mind is doing, pull ourselves back into the now by checking in internally, using your 5 senses. Look at a flower a little bit more intensely than you would. Notice the colors, smells, tastes. Like I said, check in with your 5 senses. What do you touch? What do you see? Create this new honest about life, and that's how you can bring yourself into this presence of the now. And you'd be surprised that kind of will transmute this suffering of your problems, or what you think you have your problems, or this life situation that's kind of clouding this beauty that is of the now. And if you realize you have a problem in the now, you might be surprised that a solution will more easily be able to come up. When you've created this space, by coming into the now, you've created the space for solutions and for an action to more clearly come up. You've created space for motivation, for clarity, for inspiration, for creativity, versus shoving, past, future all up into your mind, and there's no space for any of that to come. You just feel stuck because there's no space for what truly is in you, the answers that are always in you, to come up and develop, because you haven't allowed that space. So basically, he just kind of keeps pointing out in depth. I mean, it goes way more into what I've covered here, but how tuning into the now can really start to transmute any suffering that we may feel we're going through within our life situations. And I just so highly recommend this book after reading it. I'm definitely going to have to give it another read because it just had such powerful stuff in it. But if anything, sharing this concept of time and kind of how much we live past and future, and how much that can cause dysfunction within our mind and taking us away from the present. If that's all I can share and you can get out of this, then great, because it's such a powerful one, really is. So again, try to just become aware of where you're at with your mind. Are you so much are you living in the future? Are you living in the past? Where are your actions coming from? Are they coming from the now, or are they coming from the past? Are they coming from living in the future? And see what shifts can happen and what actual change, that real change, could happen with this tuning in and finding that now, that presence in the now. Just from the couple days that I've been able to do this, it's been really mind-blowing. I feel like the shifts that I've been feeling, and just kind of the perspective it's opened up with moving throughout my days and being able to approach my life situation from a place of the now. So again, it's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Give it a read, and if you'd like to discuss, please, I love the discussion, so hit me up. And if you have any other books that you can add and share to my collection of my growing books to read, please do so. Share in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and the divine light that's within you, I see it within me, and I honor it. I see it within you, I honor it, and I humbly bow to everything that makes you, you. Namaste.